Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday. It's November 9th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly, some housekeeping stuff. Um, I talked yesterday about the Memorial Day weekend. I think the federal holiday is actually tomorrow, but the market will trade regular hours tomorrow. So it doesn't look like there's going to be a shortened trading for Memorial Day weekend this time. So um, my guess with the banks being closed tomorrow that there probably won't be much going on, and that may be why we had such a. You can look at the volume and the volatility today was really up compared to what we've been seeing. So that may lead me to believe that there's not going to be any trading going on tomorrow. Everybody tried to get their trading in today. We'll see. But I generally don't trade much on Friday. Sometimes I don't trade at all. But I usually try to be out of here by 10 or 11 on Friday. So anyway, just wanted to make that uh, pass that by you because I did talk about thinking that maybe Monday was a holiday yesterday, but no, no holiday trading this year for Memorial Day weekend. We had a big move. We really had two legs down, and then we rallied after that. Anytime you see a day like this, notice how we traded down all well pretty strongly all during the overnight here. And what that means is we closed on the daily chart way up here yesterday, and the daily chart opens up down here. So on a daily chart, there's a gap there. So generally what's going to happen is prices are going to try to fill that gap. But if you correct maybe 50%, the fact that we corrected even less, but when we took off here, I'd look for a measured move. And if you measure that first leg and bring it over here, you can see that we went just a little further than that, and then it bounced. So that's the kind of thing you want to look for on a day like this. With a big move down like that, a lot of times you're going to get another leg. You'll get a correction and followed by another leg. And generally that correction is going to be somewhere between 50 and 70%, somewhere in that range. But as today, it looks a little less than 50% there. So that tells me once we head off downward, that we're probably going to get that next leg. So just something to understand there as to what I look for when I'm trying to figure out what the day is going to be. If this support would have held, I could see prices trying to fill that gap and maybe ended up as a large range day. So, but that didn't happen. We went lower, and so once we started heading down, that's my target. Most likely is a measured leg, and there's actually a secondary trend line that I need to put on here. And you can see that right there. This was just too steep, and we just kind of angled off here. There's one other possibility trade here. I'm going to mark this green, and I'll explain that. I meant to do this before I started the chart lesson, and I got distracted and came back and forgot about it. But anyway, I'm going to move this arrow out of the way just so it's not in the way. I'm going to back out a little bit too so we can see it a little better. But obviously when we came in this morning, we're trading down strongly. I was watching this one for a possible reversal. You still had to be, cognizant of this larger trend line. But once we had the break in the new low here, you're probably going to get a couple of leg correction at a very minimum. So that leads you to this trade right here. This was really the first. Actually, you could have looked at this as your first opportunity to enter. I forget what time that was. That was just before 8 o'clock. So you're really sitting here watching this correction during the 7 o'clock hour. And when it comes up here, and that is right off that trend line, there's been no close outside of it or anything. That's a very interesting trade that it's hard to say no to that trade, but you're probably smart to wait and let it see if it, a lot of times you're going to get an attempt to test that high, which notice we did. But notice what happens here first is you come back and you make this lower high and you get a fairly bearish bar, but there's a little 2-bar matching low right there. And so that is a really, really tempting trade. only thing that could keep you out of that is to notice that really we started going sideways there, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 bars stacked up there side by side basically, and you got a 2-bar matching low, and then this can't even test the low again. So if you did get caught there, you got trapped. So that's the reason I drew this arrow. I want to talk about it. And it is pretty tempting to want to enter there. I mean, it's really tempting to enter here, but this one's even more so because the trend line still seems to be holding, and there's, even though you got this low, this one's on down here, so there's plenty of room. So if you did get in here when this ended as just maybe 3 ticks and it turns higher, you better exit that one pretty quick, because there's a chance you get a measured leg up. And if you look at a measured leg up, that's going to put prices all the way back up here. We didn't quite get there, so but you definitely don't want to risk that much, you know, on a stop. So so you need to exit there. But notice what happens. We do get the break, and we get another leg up, and then we pull back, and there's a little trend line right there on that. But basically what you get here is you got this trend, you get a break, 2 legs up to a new high, and then it reverses. And notice that's a fairly bearish bar. That one's is bearish as well. So I like entering on a break lower there. But what you might do here is let this one break lower and drop a limit order a tick or 2 back, just to get a little better entry in case, because you do have a 2-bar matching low, but that's fairly bearish, and you've met your criteria. And even if you wanted to look at this like its own leg, you still get a break and a new high. So I like that one. And the main thing that I really like this one for is that you got this high here, and this is a double test of it. Plus you broke 1 tick higher. So you might have caught some people trying to get long there. So just go short right there, and you're probably going to test this low. With a trend that strong, you're probably going to get a test of the low. The key here is letting this correction play out, and that's what gets us sometimes, is not being patient enough to let a correction play out. So but anyway, with that double test and 2 legs up to a new high, I like that one. And I was really hoping maybe we might get that next leg down right here, but we really didn't have enough correction to probably start another leg that would be equal to this one. So but that turns out to be a nice trade, and then we bounce, and then you're just waiting on a reversal pattern as we correct here, and you get that right here, and it is right off the trend line. There is like a third touch right here, but you don't want to be going long right up here into this. But notice how it breaks above, comes back, so that's like a breakout pullback long. So I like going long right there. I was hoping I'd get more out of that one, but you don't get a run or anything. It comes back, and then you just got a first entry here. So you just got to sit tight on that one. But now you get a move to a new high, and notice how far you're a good bit away from the EMA, and you got a fairly bearish bar there. So just go short right there. Off it goes. And again, I thought maybe the new trend would start here, but it doesn't. You just get another move up to another high, and again, now you got another. Even though it goes a little bit higher, it's like you can't see my line there because the day closed, but I got a line right across there, and it looks like it's, you know, it's a resistance area. Turn down there once, twice, 3 times, and now you get like a little failed break being that far away. And this was probably the way I looked at this. Even though you made a lower high here, that's telling you something, the fact that we went so much lower here. So I was really surprised that we went this much higher. But being that far away from the EMA, you're thinking you might get another leg here that might be equal to this one. Generally, you're going to have a lower high there. So this is a little bit confusing right in here. You just had to look at this as strong resistance. That's the way I was looking at it, and just being that far away from the EMA. And too, I don't have this on here, but if you put your other side on there where you were turning down each time, you can see that we were turning down off that line. That's a little bit of an overshoot too. So that was the reason I like that one, just to ride it back to the EMA, because generally you'd want to break and move to a new high. And you could probably argue for this one to be green because there is no break of this trend line. And sometimes that's going to get you. But we're looking for this thing to start lower, and off of a failed break high or above that resistance area right there is where you'll often catch a major high or a major low of the day. And you can see that resistance across there and that little failed break high or so. And guess what? That does turn out to be where the second leg starts. So that's why I really like that trade, even though there's no break and retest yet. And again, you could argue for it to probably be green. It's real close. But for if you saw what I just described, this being that failed break higher, and being a good bit away from the EMA, and also being an overshoot of this little short-term channel, then I'm okay with it. And then of course it takes off, and notice how you make another lower low here, and you come back and it's right off that trend line. Really, you could argue going short right here, because that's a pullback first entry, and even though you didn't go higher, it's still like a matching low. So you've got a new low there basically. So you could argue to enter right there. Again, I'll make that one green as well, because it's just been kind of iffy right through here. So I'll mark that one green, but you could argue to enter there. It's pretty close to that low. It is off this trend line though. It is a form of a second entry short. I just would have liked it if it would have broke higher and then turned down. It didn't, but we finally do break higher here, and you really could treat this. Actually, you could treat this as a failed second entry long right here, but we weren't back to the trend line. And so, but notice that high, then the first entry, and you come all the way down here, and then the second entry. So you could argue for that to be a second entry long. And then we come back right here, and that line holds yet again. And really, this is all one move. So a strong move up, and then a second attempt, and notice how it closes there. So you're probably going to trap some longs, people trying to get long there. And so if you want to be really aggressive, I like that one, because at some point you're going to probably get this. That's just so bearish, you're going to get another leg. But you could also, there's another thing here too. You could look at this as being the second leg for this move. Even though it went higher there, it's still part of, you could still argue for that, because you'll see that occasionally. But you can see we way overdid that. So that's what scared me a little bit about either one of those, marking those red, because we might have got our two legs, and because we kind of been working back and forth here, we could have went higher yet again, and this might have, be working into a range. So that worried me about those two. But then we move on down, we come back yet again, and you get this nice bearish bar. This is looking really negative. So at this point now, I'm going to be looking for this measured leg. And you could see we weren't quite there yet. So another move down would probably get us close. And it actually went a little bit further. So this turns out to be a nice trade. You would have caught a runner here. You actually would have caught a runner on this one. You would have had a runner here. You would have had a runner here. But anyway, you get a first entry short, second entry short. You do get a close outside here. The problem with this one is that signal bar is horrible. It would have worked, but it does bounce back, and it does give you a third touch of this possible flatter, more 45-degree angle channel. Remember, this is just too steep. Look how far we've been away from the EMA now, since we really, actually, after we went through, we really never even came back and touched it till right there. That's the first attempt. So really, the way, when you're watching this in real time, that would have looked close, but this was the first one that probably did touch it, and it does kind of confirm that uh, flatter trend line. So I like that one, fairly bearish bar, and then you get another, it tried to go higher, and then you get another fairly bearish bar. There's a little bit of a 2-bar matching high there, but I still like that trade because we're looking for the bigger measured move, which is way down here. And off it goes. Again, you probably would have had a runner there. Comes back, and then you get a second entry short. But this one is so close to that double bottom, and that's a huge bar, and I'm just not crazy about that one. You could argue that it's kind of a repeat pattern of what this one looked like after the move down. It looks very similar to that, and this one ended up working. So it's almost a repeat pattern. It is off that trend line. It is a bearish bar. So if you want to be really aggressive, you could take that one, but I just would stay clear of it. And then guess what? We get a break here, and you try to go lower twice, and then you get this nice reversal bar. This one actually, I wanted to make it green. I've gone back and forth about it several times. We did get an overshoot here on the flatter channel. We came up very short on the steeper channel. We've actually had a break and a couple of legs down on the steeper channel. So you may get a reversal in here. So you could argue for this one, it's close to being green, but I still like it because you should get another leg up at a minimum like this. And if you measure that, you can see they're pretty close. We went a little bit higher than we pulled back, and then it just really bounces right off that trend line again. But mainly the reason I like that one, it's off that trend line, the EMA, but notice that's a newer low, first entry. There's actually a failed second entry short there, and so that's just like another retest because you don't have a very good setup there. And there is a little bit of resistance right across there, so it's like a breakout pullback. But I like that one. Treating it like the failed second entry short there, nice reversal bar, and off it goes. And there's one more up here later in the day off that trend line again. This is really just kind of some sideways stuff here, and so you could treat that like a failed break lower. You can see that right there. But more than anything, it's just a turn down off the high, pull back to the low, and it bounces. It's so late in the day, and we'd have been away from the EMA a while, so it was time to come back to it regardless. It is a second entry long. That's a double top, so pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's a nice reversal bar, but we did try to go lower there one more time. So what you might do is let it break higher and drop a limit order in. But a lot of times you'll miss some of the best trades that way. But in this case, you would have gotten filled before it went higher. It took it a few minutes to get going. But the fact that it was so late, so close to 2 o'clock, so late in the day, but we really got a strong reversal trend going here. So even if this is a close outside that trend line, we're going to probably make a new high and probably get a couple legs. But you can see it didn't make a hill of beans difference. It just kept going higher all day. So I didn't really like any of these off the midline because we're so far away from the EMA and we're not getting back to it. You could argue for a couple of those as well, maybe this one here, but I think you're better off to skip it. Even though it worked, and next time it won't work. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good trading day, and this was fairly straightforward once we had it started heading lower here. It was a little bit tricky in here prior to that because you just didn't know if we were trying to fill the gap or if we were going to end up going lower. But your first clue that we may be ending the reversal here is when we made a lower, just barely went higher and then made a much lower low than the last two swings lows. That's generally a good sign that, hey, this thing may be reversing. And generally you won't get a higher high here than right here. So that's what makes this a little confusing. So if it didn't make sense, it didn't really play out like you would expect it. You would really expect a lower high here and then the big trend line to take off. So they fooled some people here. And it was easy to fool them the way it played out here. So, and you can see once it started lower though, it was all downhill. Especially right in here, it just started for a free fall. People realized they probably got trapped here, and all these buyers started exiting. This was their first clue, um, but when it starts falling like that, then they all start getting out. So, but just remember that that lower low was lower than both of those previous lows. So that's telling you something right here changed quickly. And what was confusing was it's how quickly and strongly it bounced back. It climbed back up there and made that new high. But you can see right there, they got everybody and off it goes. So pretty good trading day. Really, it's just two legs down and then the market reversed. This is the market it won't quit. So even we closed up pretty high yesterday. We're almost at 2,600. I mean, we're right there knocking on the door, and it was just not long ago we were talking about knocking on the door of 2,500, and now we're up here knocking on the door at 2,600. So this market just won't quit, and every time it sells off, the buyers just come back in like crazy. So what makes it hard is when you start getting to these all-time highs, and everything kind of slows down. People get scared to buy up there. So anyway. Good trading day. I'm going to wrap it up for today. No chart lesson tomorrow. We will be back Monday because Monday is a trading day. And tomorrow's a trading day if you want to trade. I don't know I don't know how much volume there will be, or if it'll be like a lot of times when they still trade on days like that, it'll just be a tight range. There won't be much happening, but you never know. So, doesn't hurt to sit there and watch the charts and see if you might turn out to be a good trading day. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to trade yet or not. So if I don't come in and trade tomorrow, there won't be a mid-morning chart. So if you don't see one, that's probably why. But I'll probably come in for a little bit, even if I'm not going to trade or stay here for the day. So if I'm here, I will do the mid-morning chart on the website. But if you don't see one, you'll know why. And but I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back again Monday. But I'm done for the week and today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.